Hey everybody, I'm Katie McDoyle and this is... Hello everybody, welcome to this week's edition of the Detecting History podcast. This week we have the wonderful Ross Carpenter, Detectorosst. He's going to be telling us all about his journey, his new journey into metal detecting, how he's been getting on, and I really enjoy his content and the way he's so funny and also so candid with his experiences. You know, he gives the reality of trying to get permissions, etc., and how he's been getting on, getting to know his machine, all that good stuff. So we'll have Detectorosst. It's been an exciting week. This week we started to reveal the finds behind our doors on the Detecting History podcast advent calendar, and a big thanks to Regtons for coming in and providing a prize there and sponsoring us. Exciting news, we have our new discount code. So if you go to Regtons to spend any money, you can Detecting History podcast discount code, which is DH podcast. So put that in on the promo code section when you're at checkout. Also, we had the premiere of our amazing new mini-series every Friday night, Detectorosst on the Detectorosst. So I hope you enjoyed the first episode with myself, Carl the Mental Detector, and Ellie, Miss Detectorosst, where we went through episode 1, season 1 of the Detectorosst. I'm so enjoying watching it back again. It's amazing the difference in the way I consume it now that I'm actually a detectorist and the bits and pieces that I'm noticing. So I hope you get to listen to it. I hope you're watching along. Make sure you watch episode 2 of season 1 before next Friday's episode comes in. Where again you'll hear from Detectorosst as he's our guest on that episode. Very quickly, I wanted to just run through the Ultimate Bucket Lister list items and where we're up to. If you haven't seen the post on social media, as a bit of fun, I thought I'd just review where we are so far. We have already 14 items on the Ultimate Bucket Lister list, soon to be 15. Once you listen to this episode, there'll be 15 items on there. But just to run through quickly, I'll just run through. We have item 1. So this was Grim Bleeper. He placed on a gold Julius Caesar Roman coin. Item 2, placed on there by Digger Dawn, was a gold and ruby or gold and red garnet Saxon cross. Item 3, Darren Booth from History Unearthed put on a Pilgrim's Ampulla. Ronan from Detecting North Wales put on a Knut Viking coin. I feel like I should have Top of the Pops type music for this. Item 5, Paddy Detects put on a ringing crotal bell. This is the one item from the Ultimate Bucket Lister list I've actually got. So that's awesome. Item 6, the Mental Detector placed on a gold noble coin. Item 7, Magnet Fishing Menace Gary put on a safe or lockbox with money or jewels inside. Item 8, Buffy Winship Bailey put on a gold hoard. Item 9, Sophie aka Girl That Digs. She placed on a gold stator. Sam aka Samuel Bleeps put on a gold Sil Matrix as item number 10. Item 11, Emma from M Loves Old Stuff put on a gold posy ring. Item 12, Ellie aka Miss Detectorosst put on a 7th century gold Saxon cross. Item 13, Jake Detects placed a Charles I Chester Mint half crown. And item 14 was Kevin Whitmore, last week's episode, and that was a Viking axe head. There we go. Let me know. Send me a comment. I'll give you a shout out. Tell me how many of those items you've found. I'll be very impressed if it's more than 2. Then wow, I'm just lucky enough to have one. But hopefully some of you out there have got some of these more spicy items. Okay, without further ado, let's go over to listen to Detectorosst Ross Carpenter tell us all about his history in metal detecting. Welcome everybody to the Detecting History podcast, and this week I'm really pleased that we're being joined Detectorosst Ross Carpenter. How are you doing today, Ross?
I'm good, thanks. Very good. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. So it's Detectorosst. There you go. Easy for me to say. Welcome. It's really great to have you on board. I've been following you for a while, and also you were recommended by your friend Ellie, Ms. Detectorosst. And I've been really enjoying seeing your content because you're new to the detecting hobby, and I love the way you bring comedy to your posts and your videos, but also you're just so honest. And I just appreciated even when you were talking about getting your permissions, which we'll talk about in a minute. And so I'm just really glad you're on, and you're going to be really helpful. And I'm sure you've already got tips for some of the listeners that are the newer detectorists out there. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll start off just by asking, which region of the UK are you in, Ross?
Well, I'm in just near Southampton, Hedge End, small town outside in Hampshire, so South UK.
Yeah,
mostly detecting in West Sussex and South Hampshire. So wherever the groups take us.
A fellow Hampshire person. So do you also have the pitfalls of the giant flint when you're out digging?
Oh, I would love to get some flint. I haven't found any yet, but I haven't really come across a lot of flint, actually, honestly. I get a little bit of coal here and there, but
yeah, but your ground's not full of big boulders like mine is.
Some of the fields are a little bit rocky, and I suppose that's dependent on the group and where they've got the farmers and stuff like that. So it depends on how the makeup of their ground is. But certainly when I go, because detecting when you haven't got permissions yourself is limited to the beaches, and that's just, I find it horrible. It's just so rocky.
It's difficult. Yeah, it is really difficult. Good stuff. Okie dokie. And as I said in the intro, you've not been metal detecting for that long. So how long have you actually been taking part in the hobby now?
Well, I started actually around the same time the Mr. Detectorosst did, which was around February this year. It was back around the Queen's Jubilee. I went to this town called Botley, and there was a whole, all the street had Jubilee stuff on, and there was a dog party at a pub for dog owners. And I took my daughter there, and we were chatting to this couple across the table, and they said about detecting, and it was something that I'd wanted to do. I had a go in 2014. So when very first time I did it was December that year, actually a couple of months after Detectorosst came out. And I did a little bit of detecting in my mum's garden, and I found loads of bits of rubbish in about 10 minutes. Yeah. And I was just like, oh, this is amazing. So I'd always had this idea of doing it. And then chatting to these guys opposite at the table opposite, and they said about this group called the Weekend Wanderers, which is quite a big, well-known group in the area.
Yeah, I'm a member.
Oh, are you?
I am.
Well, they said about it, and I thought, oh, that sounds good. And I kind of put it on a note in my phone, and I never picked it up again for a while. And then I was talking to Miss Detectorosst about detecting, and she'd had a detector before, and I had a detector because after I'd found a couple of nails and old new coins in our garden, I said I wanted one for Christmas. So the following Christmas, my mum and her partner got me this detector, and it was I know Sophie, Girl That Digs, said about the Chinese detector that you first get, and it was that.
Yeah.
It had the hardest piece of green plastic for an armrest.
Yes.
I don't know if it's possible to make plastic any harder, so it wasn't very comfortable. It uses 2 huge batteries. It has this awful monotone sound, and that's it. There's no, you can turn it down, but you can't change the tone.
Yeah.
I didn't know what disc and sense meant. Obviously now I know it's discrimination and sensitivity, but I didn't know what discrimination was.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is with detecting, or for a lot of people, is they watch the detectorists, and that makes them think, oh, this is actually not easy, but look at these on this comedy that is so lovely, gentle, they can go out and find stuff.
Yeah.
And then, so they probably buy a detector, and then as they're waiting for it to be delivered, they look on YouTube and they see people finding loads of coins. And then the detector comes, and then usually someone will post on their Facebook posts when they say they've bought it to say, you can't just detect anywhere, you've got to get permission. because they just assume you're going to go to the local park. And of course, when I got this detector from my mum, the first thing I did when I got back from London, where they live, after Christmas, was to go to the park just across the road and walk around. And, obviously I wasn't allowed to do that. I didn't realise.
Yeah.
I walked around and it was no good anyway, because it's such a crap detector that it was just constantly beeping and it was embarrassing. It was so loud and annoying. And I thought, there's local kids and I don't want them kicking me and snapping it or anything. So I just put it in the cupboard. And I think that's what a lot of people do, is they get a detector, find that they can't use it anywhere apart from beaches, which they may not live near, stick it in the cupboard for approximately 7 years and then flog it on marketplace for about a fifth of the price they bought it for.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until this February when finally Mr. Detectorosst and I discussed it, and we thought, let's get detectors. So we actually bought something with a little bit more, of a reputation, because the brand of this one from China was www.sieben.com. That's the brand. That's a website in my eyes. So it's such a great make. So I got a Garrett, and then we realised you can just go on Facebook and there's Facebook groups and people have permissions and you just pay a membership and can get out that way. So since February is the short answer to that question.
No, that's good. Your first detector sounds much like my first detector that I got for my 40th birthday, that's shoved in a cupboard to the right of me here. I need to get out actually and see what it actually is, and I'll post a picture of it. But I got my first detector for my 40th and went out in the garden and found a William III coin. So I was addicted straight away.
In your garden?
In my garden, yeah, exactly. It's an old house, so 1699. So that immediately I was addicted. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so immediately I was addicted and like, right, brilliant. And because it was lockdown, that's a good point. I immediately went on to YouTube and found Digger Dawn and Grim Bleeper and various other folks and watched their videos. And through them, thankfully, through their hard work, because it is hard work, educate myself, as you say, that you need to get permissions, you need to be aware of the Treasure Act, you need to get insurance, and even on the beaches you can't go on every beach, you have to go on the Crown Estates website and make sure it is one of the beaches you can go on. So there's a lot of work in the background, isn't there, to understanding the hobby. You're right. And so then you say you got your Garrett, and is that the Apex? Have I seen a picture of an Apex on your profile?
Apex Ace. And it's, I thought, this is great. £680. It came with the pinpointer, headphones, which I think is Z-Link they use to connect Bluetooth connection. So I was like, great, I got all the kit. I had a £14 spade from LP Detecting. Is it LP? Yeah. I had this £14 spade, which I bought with the points that buying the detector had given me. And I think that was it for my initial kind of equipment, other than a bag which contains latex gloves. Don't ask, some chopsticks and a pen knife and things like that. So I went out with that, and you kind of immediately got this, not negativity, but a little bit of an opinion about Garrett straight away.
Right, really?
Yeah, I think people had Equinoxes and Vanquishes and everything else, and the guy was like, "Oh, okay, you got Garrett," and then they pointed over to some old guy who also loves Garrett, and he said, "Oh, everyone hates Garrett, but yeah, I like it." And that was the first impression.
That's interesting. Yeah. I've never heard that before. I always think of Garrett as like almost the granddad of metal detectors, just because they're so big and they've been around for so long. And then again, because I've mentioned her already, but Dawn, she's obviously a Garrett girl, and she's worked her way through the Garretts, hasn't she? And I myself was on a list for Garrett Apex when they were first coming out. And there was a delay for some reason for them coming out, and that's the only reason I eventually looked elsewhere and found, okay, I'll go for the XPRX. Again, it was a bundle I got through Regton's, and I couldn't wait to spend my money, so I took the leap before the Apex came out. But no, I hadn't heard that opinion before. That's interesting. Maybe the listeners can let us know if that is a wide-ranging opinion. Very interesting.
Yeah, maybe it's just my group, but
It could be, but it's what I was going to say is it's funny that you do get to know people by their brand, and we've said this before. Usually, people fall in love with the brand and stay with it, and so it's interesting that you could just point out someone and go, "There's a Garrett person over there," and you can say, "There's a Mineland person over there." We all do that, don't we?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, awesome. So then you got your detector and off you went on your group digs. You've always mentioned the Weekend Wanderers, which is Peter and Sarah, isn't it, that run that? That's a fantastic group. I always love going to their digs.
Well, I never joined them actually in the end.
Did you not? You just went off and you can go as members or non-members.
I contacted them initially and said I'd like to join. What do I do? Because you have to email them. They were on Facebook, but it was an email address you had to send an email to. So I sent an email, and then they posted saying we're not accepting any new members. So I had a look around and found the group who I joined, which is the Southeast Searchers.
That was my next question. Good segue. So you went with them instead. Brilliant. And it's nice, isn't it? Like you said earlier, when you haven't got your own permissions to go on the group digs, it's always fun. And it's great because then you can see everybody else's finds as well as your own, hopefully. And then sharing that joy, can't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's really nice. Although when you do, again, this is like, the thing, I'm terrible at metal detecting, and I think I do these kind of test things where, as I go out, just to prove that the machine works, I will just dig up iron, and then I just end up keeping on digging up iron. Even if I turn the iron sound off, it will be a nice signal and it's still iron. So I just keep digging up iron, and then I'll pass people and they're like, "Oh, what, you got anything?" I was like, "No, just rubbish," and I very quickly state that I've literally just got rubbish. And they say, "Yeah, same here." And then they get their pot out, and it's filled with 3 buttons, 2 musket balls, a couple of toasted coins. I'm like, "That's not rubbish. What are you doing?" And every time, I think, if this is the rubbish that people are calling rubbish, then what is a good day? And so that's where they firmly put me in my place.
Those are the folks that are hoping to get 7 hammers in a day. That's probably what they are. But I love the artifacts too. Now it's difficult, isn't it, as a newbie, and you're still getting to know your machine, and as you say, like, keep digging iron, and then eventually you hear the tones and fall in love with your machine, and you become one with your machine. But yeah, you've got to keep digging. You never know, do you? You never know.
No, that's the thing. That's it, exactly.
I had a banging signal today, and I actually filmed it, and I was like, "Oh, this is an amazing signal. 85 on the IRX. It's going to be something good." And it was just like a piece of aluminium foil, something like that. Oh yeah,
of course, yeah.
Yeah, so it happens to us all, even when they sound good. Okay, so what do you love about the hobby? Is it for you the history and the anticipation of what you might find, mental health? What do you love about it?
I think it's a bit nostalgic, actually, even though I've only just started it. I really think there's so many similarities between metal detecting and fishing. And I used to go fishing a lot when I was younger. So from the age of 8 to 18, I sort of went every 2 weeks with a fishing club in London. And with my dad. My mum and dad separated when I was 15. And 15? No, 1995, when I was 13, 14, something like that. So in the sort of middle of that period of 10 years, I'd been fishing with my dad more sort of part-time. And then when they separated, it then became the thing that I did with my dad every other weekend. And then the inter weekends in the middle of those fishing trips, it was then me and my brother and sister going around to my dad's. So I got to see my dad every weekend.
Nice.
And detecting is very similar to me. You got to get up early. We got an early coach somewhere. I don't get a coach, but I had a flask of tea that my nan would make us. I had sandwiches where she'd put tomatoes into the tomato juice, had run through the sandwich and made them all rubbish. We were freezing cold. But it was us getting to a sort of a meeting point with all of the other generally men. And then we'd go off and I'd sit in the swim next to my dad. And it was just nice just being out in nature.
Yeah.
And you could have a day where you catch nothing, same as you could have a day where you find nothing decent. But there could be, you might see a kingfisher or or dragonflies buzzing around, and so just being out in the nature, I think I find really lovely about it. I never really attribute things to being good or bad for mental health. I tend to be, I just enjoy things, and but of course there's a lot of positives in mental health as well, I guess, and I can see why a lot of people would find that. So yeah, I think it's like that kind of hunt, and sometimes you get nothing, and sometimes you find you get a good catch, or you find a good item. So that assimilation, I think it just gives me a nostalgic feeling, even though it's a different hobby.
Yeah.
And of course, then you've also got that similarity as well, where at the end of the day, if you're fishing, you've got your keep net, and whoever's doing the weigh-in will come along, swim by swim, and they get to you, and then you weigh and see what you've caught, and everyone sees what you've got, and you do this same kind of show and tell at the end of the dig. When you're sort of packing up to go home. So
Yeah.
I find all that, and I take my daughter out with me when she comes to stay. So it's a nice thing for us to do together, and I like the enjoyment and excitement she gets when she gets her finds as well. So
yeah. Detectorist in the making. Fantastic, brilliant.
Oh no, she's rubbish. But
how old is she?
10.
There you go. Not too bad for a 10-year-old. Brilliant. Yeah.
Awful technique.
Running around, swinging it around in the air. Not quite right. Brilliant. Yeah, the nostalgia. I love that, and that quality time. Then obviously you spent with your dad, and that must have been amazing. Yeah. And then, as you say, when we go out, we can. Even if we're alone, we then get that show and tell at the end on social media as we've got now. Yeah, fantastic.
Oh, of course, yes.
Yeah, lovely. Brilliant. Yeah. Okay. So tell me then, I know you have had some success. I've seen it myself on Instagram. So let's start talking about our best finds. And I've seen that you've found a couple of good bits and pieces already. What are your favourite things you found?
I mean, they are literally, I was listening to Carl the other day podcast, and I think he was talking, and he sort of said about finding, I think, the Henry III coin. I can't remember. I think it was his first hammer that he found after 4 years or something like that.
Yeah.
But alongside that, obviously, he's got bundles of stuff as well. And so is that's a difficult decision about what's your best find. For me, it's like, what's your best find Roman coin? Because it's the only thing of any age I found. I found a couple of medieval things, and the first medieval thing I found was the spindle well. Well, I think it's medieval.
Yes.
It might be Roman. I know they stopped making them in lead after a certain point. So it's either late Roman or early medieval, and so that's fascinating. And for me, to find something that is just medieval, I mean, I love that period of history, but so to have something that's just classified as medieval is great. And then the Roman coin and the apothecary weight, I think it is, that I found in Oxford.
Yeah.
Tiny little square. Those are the three best things I found. And then, other than the Roman coin, I've only really had a few other small bits. A musket ball. That was, I think, on the second dig. I found a musket ball, and I didn't realise that they only came from the Civil War, which made it 381 years old or something like that at the oldest. And I was thinking, wow, this is like nearly pushing 400 years old, and so that was best at the time, but it was only the second thing. And I found a Victorian halfpenny, and I think, but just any coin I find is just lovely. Just seeing that glint of green in the soil. But yeah, it's a Roman coin. It's potentially 1700 and something years old. I think it's from about 305 AD. So, but I'll wait to see what the FLO says.
Yeah, were you able to identify it? Was there enough detail for you, or are you waiting to hear back?
Yeah, it was I wasn't able to identify. I have no idea who this is. I can't read the writing because it's very different to how we write these days. Yeah. But someone in the group that I was in, or on the dig with, so I went out with midweek searchers. Midweek searchers, you can join for free if you've been on 3 digs, and it was the first dig I'd been on with them. So I went along, but because I had only been on my first dig and I wasn't therefore a member, I'm not in the Facebook group or allowed to be, so I couldn't see any of the feedback on the coin that they posted in the chat. But someone forwarded me the photo, and someone had sort of confirmed or identified it as Constantius Chlorus. And so we had a year we can work out from that. But whether it is that or not, I'm not sure. But it was very, very nice. It was quite big, and it had a lot of definition on both sides. And it was just the only thing I found that day of any significance. So
Yeah, and congratulations on your first Roman. Some people still haven't found Roman, depending on the area of the country they're in. They haven't found any, so well done. And
some of you are blessed, and some aren't. I guess it's just
you are blessed, Ross. And when you find a Roman, there's no mistaking it. Is it the big chunky things generally?
Yeah, really thick.
You just know. Yeah, it's surprising, isn't it? The weight of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like copper.
Yeah.
Copper or something, but
copper bronze alloys. Yeah, exactly. So you found a good few bits and pieces, and I agree with you. I love finding any coins, even when it's like a crusty threepenny bit or something like that. I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't seen one of these for ages. So I'm always happy with a coin.
Yeah, the first coin I found was, I was just delighted just to see something round, because most of the stuff I found is about 30 centimeters long, corner of a bit of tractor, obviously.
Yeah,
and that has its place, and I love that as well. But seeing the small round thing, and it was I was like, oh man, what's a coin? So I was cleaning it, trying to get as much of this mud off as I could, dirtying my gloves off to dirty my gloves up to take off as much soil as I could. And I was like, I can kind of see some writing, and it said Willem II, and then I found out it was a 2013 €5 cent from Holland.
Oh.
So
that's cool though, isn't it? Even that, it's like wow, what's it doing?
Postage and 10 years old.
Brilliant! I love it. Okay, cool. So you've had some good bits and pieces. You're obviously getting there and getting to know your machine. Have you had anything weird that you've just gone, why was that there? Anything weird and wonderful yet?
I mean, that was actually one, the fact that this Dutch coin happened to be in the middle of a field in Denmead in, Hampshire, randomly. But I suppose it was the weirdest experience rather than the weirdest thing I found.
Mm-hmm.
So I went on this dig with Let's Go Digging, who you can just be a non-member and just go along, and they go all over the country. So we were in Oxford, and I was with Mr. Detectorosst on this day. And they had 4 fields, and they opened up one field at a time, and every hour and a half they opened up the next one. So I think we were on the 3rd field, and I'd found this beautiful patch of ring pulls, and I was having a time of my life there, ring pull after ring pull, and so it was just the best. And then I came out to the middle of the field. I sort of looked to see where Ellie had gone, and saw her down the field, and I thought I'll start walking that way, but obviously scanning as I was going. But not proper scanning, just quick scan, as you're sort of trying to catch up with someone. And then I got like this 87 signal, and very definite. So I was like, I'll start digging. And I was digging for ages, and I was going further and further down, and the signal was just still 87. Like normally, if it's, sometimes you get a bit of iron that pulls the wool over your eyes and gives you a good signal, and then you start digging down, and then you realise it's just dropped down to a 30 or something. But this stayed at 87 or 86, something like that. And so I was like, well, okay, I'm going to call Ellie. And I phoned her, and she refused to come. And she was with some guy who had found a Roman coin just near her. And so that was more interesting to her. She wanted to see if there's Roman coins in the area, not to come back and find my hole. So that was, it was just, okay, I'll bury it back, or put the soil back in the hole.
Yeah.
And I'll do a what 3 words, and I'll come back to it later, and I'll make her come back to this hole. And funnily enough, the guy who found the Roman coin is Get Out the Floor, who's got on Instagram, Get Out the Floor. And so we've he recognised this particular set of photos I posted. Yeah. From that day, because he was there unbeknownst to me, and then we found each other on Instagram later, just randomly, recognition. So anyway, I went and caught Ellie. We went back, and I said, look, I found this strong signal. Can we just go and check it out? So he checked it out, and we started going down and down. And then there was this dug enough soil out, and then suddenly this upturned sort of cylindrical piece of pottery that was kind of like quite ornate, ridged. It was sort of white and apricot in colour, different colours. And I thought, this looks really old. Probably Roman. I said, it's probably, to me, it was probably a roof tile, and there was a house underneath if we dug deep enough. And she's like, oh my God. And so we start digging and we're trying to get underneath it. So I phone the admin and they drive over in their Land Rover and they will jump out. And you'll see in the pictures that I posted, there's, a few people in the picture stood around, but there was about a dozen people at the end of it who'd sort of come wandering over. We dug deeper and deeper. And then we found this, we got down and then the trowel kind of hit and it felt plasticky, but almost lead, like a lead sheet over the top.
Yeah.
So what's this? So you start scrabbling away at the soil, and it turned out it was a cesspit lid. So I literally had found. Great. But of course, there's still that part of me that's thinking, right, can we just still take the lid up and just make sure there's not a hoard underneath? But yeah, that was that, and so that was the weirdest thing. And then the very next week, I went out digging with Southeast Searchers, with my own club or group, and I got a really good signal again, and it was on an old path that didn't exist in the field anymore, but had been there before. And so I'm digging it, and then I find this rust color, and obviously I recognise rust everywhere I dig because I find so much iron.
Yeah.
But I call over the people who run the group, and again they drive over. I get another dozen people around watching, and then eventually we got down deep enough to realise it was a water pipe. So 2 weeks in a row, I had the whole crowd around, and water pipes in both cases, or water related.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, third time lucky. The next time it's going to be the hoard, so make sure you keep digging.
Maybe I'll get an actual latrine.
Yeah, maybe. Oh gosh. So yeah, two occasions, but yeah, everybody would have dug that for sure. So you did the right thing. It's just
that's it. There was a big stone on the second one, on the water pipe. There was a huge stone on top, and I know there'd been, I think in that same area there'd been an axe head hoard found previously.
Ooh.
And they bury them and put a stone on top, or so they thought and said. So with that stone being there as well, it was like, well, let's check it out. But
got it.
Yeah, just a water pipe to the nearby farm.
Well, definitely third time lucky. I'll grant you this wish. It's going to happen. You deserve it. Brilliant. Well, thank you for sharing those weird and wonderful tales. You never know, do you? I did go out once with a mate, and he had like a signal, and it was just the classic that he'd been in such a rush to get detected, and he hadn't changed his work boots, and he had his steel toe caps on.
Oh no.
Yeah, and that actually happened in real life. You see the meme of it online. Some guy that's dug down 30 feet or something, and he's got his steel toe caps on. But this actually happened. But he didn't dig for ages. He just suddenly realised, because he was just getting signals everywhere and going, "What's going on? What's going on?" He hadn't changed his shoes. So funny.
Yeah, it's the same with rings and the pinpointer as well.
Yes, I've got my wedding ring and my engagement ring on this finger, and I usually have a little ring finger there. But when I go out, and bracelets I usually have, but when I go out, I take that off so that I got the dirt in this hand, because otherwise I'm going to be setting it off and not finding anything in that hand. It's little things, isn't it? You have to remember.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay then, Ross. Tell me, do you know, or do you yet have a favourite history era?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I know the mental detectorist said the same, that history at school, it wasn't really that interesting. I always loved the Second World War, just because of the Blitz and videos my mum had that we watched and stuff like that. So I always loved that era. But as I've kind of gotten older and read and visited places, just the Anglo-Saxon Viking period, I find absolutely fascinating. But it really fluctuates. I can get hooked on Victorian stuff one day, and then it'll be Elizabethan England if, I don't know, the film Elizabeth, the Golden Age comes on. Then it'll go back to more medieval, and the idea of, it's so interesting, the Black Death and that kind of just the massive difference between the poor and the rich. And then I like witch finding. Yeah, but I have phases of sort of getting obsessed with things. So like, I love The Last Kingdom on Netflix. And
I've not seen that.
It is so good. It's quite bloody, but it's there's a lot of true to like true real names used in the Vikings that invaded. And it's basically about King Alfred and him wanting to form the United Kingdom, because at the time it was 5 or 6 kingdoms. So you had Mercia and East Anglia and Wessex, obviously, Northumberland.
Yeah.
And so it was about uniting them. So instead of having one king who ruled those areas, it was uniting them and having one kingdom and the United Kingdom. And that was his dream.
Yeah.
And so the Last Kingdom is about this guy Uhtred, who lived up in Bedburn in Northumberland. I don't think he existed, but all of the family members mentioned did. And he's a warrior who was taken by Vikings and brought up as a Viking.
Oh.
But then swore allegiance to King Alfred. And so he's kind of bound to defending Britain against the Vikings. But equally, he's got Viking knowledge, so he's able to tell the British how to defend against, or the Saxons how to defend against the Vikings and stuff. So I get obsessed, and I start to like buy stuff like tankards, and I bought like wooden bowls and wooden cutlery, and tins of meat to eat in my bowl at work, and I sort of throw myself into things. So I get all obsessed
all
by
the Viking gear.
Yeah, that Saxon period is probably it.
Yeah, fascinating period. A lot of guests recently for episodes that have come out and not yet come out have said the same thing as well. And I was talking to Em Love Stuff, and she's a bit of a gamer. So the Assassin's Creed game Valhalla, that's really good. And
yes,
like you say,
I've got that.
Have you? Cool.
Yeah.
And then, as you say, there's various different TV things, and some of it is true to life and history and historical records and a bit of fiction in there. Some are really well done, aren't they, and very accurate for everything we know that happened at that time. And it's a great way for me personally to learn that way. I take it in well when I'm watching it or listening to an audiobook or something, rather than sitting there reading. I kind of know it for about 3 hours and then it falls out of my head somewhere and forget it all again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have a favourite monarch or emperor or ruler then in that case from that same time period, or someone else completely?
I'd actually probably go Charles III.
Our new king.
Not really. It is King Alfred, definitely. I mean, I live not too far from, probably 15 minutes from Winchester. And as you come in, you've got a statue of Alfred straight away. But I didn't really know much about Alfred prior to The Last Kingdom. I remember, I've actually got it here. When I was at school, you could collect vouchers on cereal boxes.
Yeah.
And then you could send off, and you got this Weetabix illustrated history book. So this is from 1989. And there is like a timeline on each of the open page, on the 2-page spread. There's a timeline that weaves its way through. So it talks about the Vikings coming and King Canute trying to stop the sea. And there's not much of a mention. It says like Alfred the Great born. And then the only thing about Alfred is about how he burnt some cakes or burnt some bread rolls when sheltering with a Saxon woman who scolded him. So he wasn't like talked about much at school at all. But now I sort of realised the significance he had back in at that time. So I definitely would go with Alfred.
Yeah, I'm not far from Winchester. I know exactly the statue you're talking about. It's a fantastic statue. Have you been to the Great Hall there, where they've got the replica round table up on the walls?
No, is that in
That's
Winchester?
in Winchester, yeah. So if you go at the other end of town and up the hill, they've got the old prison there that you can go in, which is fascinating as well. And there's old prisoner graffiti, and then the Great Hall as well. So very much recommend a trip there. You'll love it.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Definitely will.
Cool. Okay. Good choice. I like that. So going back to detecting now, and we're going to talk about, and this is again why I love your account on Instagram, how do you go about getting your permissions? So what have you done so far? And I know you've had some good efforts already in trying to secure some of your own personal permissions.
Yeah, it's been quite a fun, frustrating journey, I suppose. I haven't, expended so much effort. I haven't been out every, week or anything like that. But a couple of people saying you just need to go and get some permissions, Ellie being one of them. And so I sort of went out. I thought, right, I'm going to go out and just do it, just knock on doors. And I used to love delivering leaflets as a kid, and I never felt that intimidated going to deliver leaflets, because even where I lived, which was in Hertfordshire, just outside North London. To be honest, there's not so much affluence in that sort of area. So houses there doesn't tend to be so many big houses. But the most daunting thing of all is going up to this. Obviously, you're going. I'm literally driving down the road, and I'm heading out towards Botley and Bishop's Waltham, which are really nice areas, and loads of land. And you're driving past, and I just see like a field. So I think, right, where's a house that probably owns that field? I'll just try this one. So I just knock on the door, and then I sort of go up, and some old guy comes out to me, and we have a little chat at the door, and that's very nice. But he's like, "Oh, I've only got this bit of front garden here, which I don't think you'll find anything but junk." But he said, if you go up and turn right, there's a guy or a farm, and the landowner there owns most of the land, we think, behind us, and so on. So, okay, great. So I go up this lane. I come to this little lane, he says, and I walk up, and there's all these geese or something. They're geese, but they've got like a pink frill on their head, something like that. And they start. It's like an alarm. They start honking at me and make such a racket. I'm like, oh no, shut up! I'm like backing out and eking my way back down the path. I think, oh no, it's of course I've come after work, so it's like 6:30 in the evening, and so people are having dinner as well. I haven't thought of that aspect of it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, I've already driven here. I'm going to have to just bite the bullet. So I come back out that lane, go up the hill a little bit further, and then there's a turning. And this is the bit I was talking about the leaflets for. When you've got these big houses and they've got obviously a lot of money, you sort of there's a gravel drive, so your feet are crunching straight away. Oh, shut up. And then they've got like a double garage, and then and the cars are parked, in the double garage or outside on the gravel before the gate to get into the house. And you open the gate and you start walking down the path. And because I don't know if it's affluence means you don't need curtains because you're looking out over lovely land. They're sitting there. They've just got their window completely bare with no curtains. And so you start walking up the path, and all the kids are there. The kids of the family and the mum and dad are just sitting there looking at you as you walk up. I'm like, oh, this is so in your face. And I think, well, I can't back out now. I've got to walk all the way to the door, and the kids are sort of up at the window, knock on the door,
going, "Who's that? Who's that?"
Oh, I know. So I knock on the door, and he answers, and I'm already on the back foot. I'm already embarrassed for the situation, and so I don't come across probably the most confidently. But I sort of explain the situation. He says, "Oh, we just rent it. If you go up the road, then there's a farmer there." So I carry up the road, and then I come to these beautiful houses with sort of 8-foot high gates, intercoms. So I go up to the intercom of this. I think, which one's obviously this is the best house. This is massive and huge gate. So yeah. I'll just go for that one. So I do the intercom, and this lady answers. It phoned through to her phone, which was just a new thing for me. I hadn't thought that could happen. So she's answered her phone. Yeah. She's not even there. She's I think she's in the shops or something, and she said, I'll phone my husband and he can open the gate up so you can walk up and see him. So now I'm inconveniencing people. So her husband starts to open the gate, and I walk in, and it's this winding path. Again, it goes right by the front of the house. And he says, no, we don't have too much land. But try someone else. He does. And he points me up the road. And I go up the hill, and there's a sign on the door and another gate and another intercom, but he doesn't answer. I phone the mobile number, no answer. And it's starting to get dark. And I come back down the hill, and he said, apart from that one, he said someone just behind him. So I thought, well, I'll just see if that's the house next to him, he meant. I walk up to the house,
yeah.
And this guy comes out of his door. And again, you're so exposed. You're just walking on their property, exposed as anything. And I walk up to this guy, and he comes over, and I said, "Oh, hi, I'm a detectorist, and I'm looking, and I'm trying to do my smiliest voice. And I explained everything, and I said, so basically, I'm wondering, are you a landowner? Would it be okay for me to text? And he said, yes, I am. And no, you can't. Okay. I was like, oh, all right, rude. So now I'm like angrily plodding off. And I had one final stint that day. So just as I got back to my car, someone had come out to say, oh, you should really tuck it in more. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just asking for permission to detect. And he said, oh, have you tried that guy? And I said, yeah. He said, yeah, he won't say no. He won't say yes, will he? And I said, no. I think he must have been the local cantankerous neighbour. And he said, well, come in and ask. We'll ask this lady. I've forgotten her name now, but she owns her family own the fields at the back, so she might be up for it. So he called her name, and she's not there. But I thought that's great because I can use her name next time. So, oh yeah, are you so and so? Because and I got his name as well. He said that you might be, and she said no as well when I came back. So that day I went back, she said no, but I carried on further up the road, and I thought I'm just gonna knock on it a few more. I'm already here, but it's so embarrassing leaving a voicemail to basically a gatepost.
Yes,
people driving past, and you're just talking at a brick wall. Literally talking to a brick wall. Anyway, I knocked on one lady, and she was very kind, and she took my number, and she said, well, my husband actually has a detector, and his friends are always saying, why don't you come out with us detecting? So I'll pass your number to him and see what happens. So anyway, nothing happened for a few weeks, and then he phoned me, and he said that, oh, you spoke to my wife, and I've got a friend who owns a farm on the way to Marwell, a place near Winchester. I don't think he meant the zoo. And he said, once the sweet cord's been cut, we can go out detecting together. So it kind of has resulted in not a permission where I can go myself, but at least it's an opportunity to go out digging. Nothing's come of it yet, but and funnily enough, this morning I had a bit of a busy morning. Went to the gym, and then I went out and popped my leaflets up. So I've done some hand-drawn leaflets with myself, a picture of myself printed on them. So I printed those out, and I went to 5 or 6 post offices in, again, reasonably affluent areas because you obviously want landowners to see it. Put 5 or 6 up in post offices and Costa Coffee and things like that today. So I've done a few more leaflets today. Fingers crossed it'll come off.
Yeah, fingers crossed. One of the first permissions I got outside of the farm where I live, I put a little advert in. So there's kind of like 4 villages, and they all get together and have this little monthly magazine. And it was like 20 quid to put an advert in it. So I just got like a little, 2 by 2 inch advert in there with my number on it, saying, historical surveys and detecting and free jewellery finding service. And from that, I got quite a few calls, actually, people that just had maybe 1 or 2 acre paddocks, but they wanted to know what might be under their feet. And so that was really fun. So that's another tip. And I like the fact you've done the leaflets and putting them up, because we all sort of stand there, don't we, in the queue, looking at the board with all the business cards on and everything. So, yeah, you'll probably get some people from that. It's brilliant. Well done you, and that's really brave as well, and you got out there and you did it, and it's coming to something which is great, so well done you.
Thank you.
And I'm sure lots of other people are following suit as well. It is nerve-wracking. I've done it myself as well.
Horrible.
You do feel exposed, you're right. You're just kind of like, oh, I'm just here basically asking for a massive favour.
Yeah, well, I'm doing it naked as well, so I'm fully exposed in every way possible.
Well, that kind of does make it a bit more awkward, Ross.
Makes it really awkward, yeah, especially in the garden centre.
Oh gosh. So have you had any issues when you've been out detecting, apart from finding water pipes and cesspits and things like that?
No, not really. I mean, the only issues I have is how many kilos of iron I'm putting into my Tesco bag for life and taking it home. I take it all home so that my daughter and I can clean it up and take photos of it, and I can use it in Instagram posts later on. I know you sort of mentioned in one of the podcasts recently the fact that people put their hand out with all their hammers on it, and so I did a mock one of those where I put the iron and the ring pulls and all the tat I found. So so there's all the weight I'm carrying around in my backpack. That's one issue. And I suppose stubble and going out in shorts for some reason and getting my shins all cut up from the stubble. That was also pretty horrible.
Not advisable.
No.
Yeah, even in the hottest of days, I always have the trousers on. Not just the stubble, but also I don't want any ticks or any Lyme disease occurrences, anything like that. So, yeah, you have to be really careful. And they're so tiny when they first get on you. You just have to be really careful. Check behind your knees, everybody. Check behind your knees.
My legs are so pale, though, that I don't think they'd recognise there's any blood in there. So I think that's fine.
They'd be like, we're out of here. Love it. Have you got any advice for any other new detectorists out there? What would you like to say to them?
Well, I mean, one of the things I've started to do lately is to do a little bit of research before I go out, not on what history is local per se, but more to see what the land looked like prior to, recent changes in the borders of the farmland and things like that. So there's this website which is NLS, November Lima Sierra. One of the .com, .co.uk, .gov, I don't know. But you can just Google NLS and it gives you side-by-side maps. So you can get an 1881 map and then overlay today's map, and you can see how vastly different the field you're digging in has changed or is from back then. And you can see where the paths are. And so looking where the paths are or where paths cross, obviously you can look to see if there was, potentially it might have been a market spot at some point, and or if there's just converging points people might meet there. So I've started to do that each time I go out now. The biggest thing for me is just being positive. Whatever happens on the dig, whether you find nothing or find stuff, you just enjoy it. And if you don't find anything, take the positives from the day, whatever they are. Even if you found a load of junk, your machine works, or that you maybe dug out 30 bits of iron, and your battery is only one notch down. So now you can charge it fully, and that will last you for 3 digs. So take the positives from it.
There you go. Yeah.
Obviously, if it's been raining or whatever, horrible weather, freezing cold, and you found nothing, maybe you finish early, so go to the pub and enjoy a drink after, or a carvery, whatever. So just take the positives and enjoy the day. And I suppose the key thing I would say is don't expect too much. So if you watch Detectorists or YouTube, you have your expectations inflated, and if you speak to people, you'll have your expectations inflated as well, because they'll tell you about stuff they found and show you stuff they found. But they've been digging for 30 years, some of them. And
that's right.
And so they're just so in tune with their machine. So, if you go out and you might go out 10 times and find only a couple of toasted coins, but that's fine, because it's just a learning curve. And you can just be lucky as well. You can just walk over the right spot. And likewise, you can not walk over the right spot. So
absolutely.
Take the positives.
Yeah, I love that. How lucky are we that we can do detecting and we haven't got other things to worry about? Absolutely. Right, we're going to move now on to the bucket lister section, Ross. So first of all, I'll ask you about if you could just tell us about 1 or 2 things that are very high up on your own personal bucket list that you'd love to find sometime soon. And then we'll move on to ask you which item would you like to place on the ultimate bucket lister list for our listeners.
After I found the €5 cent coin, probably if I found a €10 cent coin, that would be a dream, eh?
Double or quits.
Yeah. No, I think a King Alfred hammered coin would be amazing. It's my favourite monarch. It would be a hammered, which I haven't found yet. I want a full one. I don't want a quarter or a half, because I want to see the whole picture, please. And that'd be stunning. Yeah. I was looking them up online yesterday, actually. King Alfred hammers, and there was one on eBay for $5.99, and of course it was a replica, because then I saw other listings that were £8,900 for one, and things like that. So I don't know. It would be a great thing to keep. I don't envisage trying to sell any of my things, although I'm fine. I think if people find stuff and sell it, absolutely fine. it's their thing to they found it, they can sell it, do what they want with it. But if I did find it, I would probably still keep it unless I needed money badly, and then it would be a commodity, a valuable asset that perhaps I could cash in the future. But I think I would probably want to keep it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you want to keep your first hammered if you can. I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope you find that soon. I'm looking forward to seeing your silver dance that day when you find that.
As far as the ultimate bucket list, I know that a gold state is already on it.
Yeah.
And I would have said that first off straight away, because a friend of mine, the one who actually he's a member of SES, the group I'm usually digging with, but he was the one who told me about midweek searches when I found my Roman. He found a gold stater, and he's a lovely guy, Mark, and he said he was just detecting this field, and it was tea break time, and he was just walking along, and then he just for some reason decided to divert across the field at this particular point. No reason. It wasn't at the end of the path or anything. He just literally at this point along the path around the perimeter, he just thought, I'm just going to cut across. And as he cut across, he scanned, and about 2 meters in, he found his stater. And I think they're just so beautiful. You see other people posting their status on there on Instagram, and they just look so chunky and well defined and everything else. I'll probably, in line with keeping up the comedy and taking the mick out of myself, I'll probably make one out of mashed potato and bake it so it's hard and post that.
I love that.
But as a gold status is already on there, I don't know. Can it be on there twice? I don't know what else to put.
No, I think you need to choose something else.
I mean, one of those Saxon, like that thing that was in Detectorists when they pan under the soil, and they've got that kind of amulet thing with a shiny front.
A Saxon amulet.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. We can put that on. We've had a Saxon cross, which Ellie put on, gold cross. And we've had a Saxon golden ruby cross. But we can totally put that on. That covers a lot of the Saxon bases then, doesn't it?
Yeah, all Saxon.
We all want the Saxon, absolutely. Yes, and if you have a look and find a picture, then I will put that up when I put up the ultimate bucket list so people know what you're talking about. We'll look it up and put a picture on, and then I can do a little piece about it in the midweek's extras as well.
This is where I look stupid, because there's no such thing as a Saxon amulet, and can't find a picture for love of money.
No, you're good.
Great.
And we haven't got that on yet. So that's perfect. I had to check myself then as well. Right, brilliant. Thank you for putting a Saxon amulet on the ultimate bucket lister list. I think that is item 14 or 15 now. So we've got quite a list going now. And a few people with a couple of the items on the list. So I think I've only got one, a whole ringing crotal bell. Everything else has eluded me so far. So we will get there. We will get there. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Ross. Have you got anything else you want to mention? Any promotions, any shout outs, and who would you like to see on the podcast coming up?
Okay, so obviously my Instagram is Detectorosst, as we've said, with Ross instead of the wrist part of wrist.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's allowed. I've just set up a management training company with two friends at work. Could I just mention?
Yeah. Promote away, yes.
Okay, so we've set up a management training company for online remote courses called Mint Grove Training. So that I was also putting leaflets of that up today as well with the detecting ones. And we're just trying to get people to the website and hopefully book courses. We've only just started out, so we're still early days, but yeah.
Brilliant. Well done you. That's always exciting with something new building up. So yeah, absolutely. Go and check that out, everybody. Ross, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I wish you best of luck. And I think I'll probably bump into you on one of these digs and one of these club digs sometimes. Because we're always in the same location by the sounds of things. If you see a mad woman in a baseball cap running towards you, it's me. Don't be scared.
Well, you might come round when I think I found an amulet and it turns out to be just a crowbar.
Yeah, crowbar, pit lid, something like that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Ross. You take care, and I look forward to hearing about all of your fantastic finds on the next series.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Katie. Lovely to be here.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
There you go. That was the wonderful Ross Carpenter, AKA Detectorosst on Instagram. Ross is one of our guests in rotation on the new miniseries that's on every Friday, the Detectorosst on the Detectorosst. So you'll hear Ross again next Friday. Make sure you're there to hear us review Detectorosst Season 1, Episode 2 next week. Okay, that's the end of this week's episode. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we have partnered with Regtons. So Regtons have now given us a fantastic discount code. If you go to Regtons to purchase any accessories, coils, etc., you can expect a 10% discount if you use the discount code DH Podcast. So it's DH Podcast. Discount doesn't apply on the DS2 or any of the big detectors, but it does apply on coils, accessories, books, all of that good stuff. So get over there and save yourself some money for your Christmas presents. I also wanted to remind you, talking about Christmas, that we have our Etsy store for official Detecting History Podcast merchandise. We are selling, so get in there before we sell out. You want to go over to etsy.com and you want to go to the Detecting History Podcast shop. So the address for that is etsy.com/shop/Detecting History Pod. Finally, we have our Patreon. If you want to get the main episode and the midweek extras episode a day early, go and sign up to our Patreon. It costs as much as a coffee. So if you buy me a coffee or a beer in real life, go over to Patreon, sign up, and you'll get those episodes a day earlier than anyone else, plus some additional random content when I post things on there. To do so, go to patreon.com/Detecting History Podcast. And finally, the last way we're trying to get some funds in to be able to keep the podcast going, to fund all of the wonderful production that we do, I'm asking you again, if you'd buy me a drink or a coffee, please do so. You can pop over to buymeacoffee.com/Detecting History Podcast. So again, it's the price of a coffee. It will really help keep the podcast going into 2024, which I really hope to do so because I've really enjoyed it so far. I think you are too. I will leave you now until next week. Lots to look forward to. Make sure you check out the Advent calendar every day to see if you are a winner. Also, make sure you check out the midweek extras episode on Wednesday. And of course, the second episode in our mini-series, Detectorosst on Detectorosst, on Friday.